What if that moment you keep dismissing as nothing is actually one of the clearest signs you're waking up? You're walking down a street, and a stray cat freezes and locks onto you like it's reading your soul. A dog that ignores everyone suddenly stares at you without blinking. Birds go quiet when you enter a space. A horse you've never met watches you with an unnerving calm, like it recognizes you. And you tell yourself it's random, it's coincidence, it's your imagination. But what if it isn't? What if animals are doing what most humans can't do anymore? Seeing your field without the filters. Most people live behind a mask of thought. They don't feel energy, they interpret it. They don't sense the truth, they debate it. Their minds are so loud, they can't detect the simplest signal, presence. But animals don't live in explanation first. They live in frequency first. They track intention, nervous system state, coherence, fear, dominance, calm. And that means they often respond to what you are before you speak, before you move, before you act normal. So if animals keep staring at you, the real question isn't, why are they weird? The real question is, what did they just detect that you forgot you carry? In the Gnostic view, the world is layered. The surface is the story, the social performance, the identity roles, the mental noise. Under the surface is the field, and inside the field is the spark, the monad light, the uncreated imprint of the source hidden inside human form. The archons can manipulate the story, because stories are programmable. But the monad spark is not programmable. It is not theirs. It is the one thing they can't replicate, the one frequency they can only try to bury under distraction and fear. And this is why chosen ones feel different, even when they try to blend in. Not because they are superior, but because their spark is closer to ignition. Their field is brighter, more coherent, less compliant to the artificial broadcast. And animals, being far less hypnotized by ideology and far more sensitive to non-verbal signals, often react to that coherence like it's a beacon. They stare because something in them recognizes a pattern they've trusted since before language existed. Now, let's get brutally honest. Humans used to have this sensitivity too. Ancient people didn't need to be taught that places have energy. They didn't need convincing that presence changes a room. They didn't need to believe that fear is contagious. They lived it. But modern consciousness has been trained into a narrow strip of perception. The more you live in screens, schedules, and social masks, the more you lose the animal-like ability to sense what's real. You become a creature of interpretation instead of recognition. That loss of recognition is not an accident. In Gnostic terms, it's the mechanism of control. If you can no longer feel what is true, you'll accept whatever you're told. If you can no longer sense who is coherent and who is predatory, you become manageable. If you can no longer detect your own field, you become easy to drain. And that's why the system prefers humans who live in their head. A head-driven person is a predictable person. A presence-driven person is dangerous. Animals don't care about your social identity. They don't care about your job, your titles, your religion, your online persona. They respond to what your nervous system is broadcasting. They respond to whether you are safe, coherent, predatory, frantic, or open. When an animal stares, it's often doing one of three things: reading you, calibrating to you, or warning you. And when you're a chosen one, meaning your spark is beginning to wake. Animals sometimes become mirrors that reflect what you can't yet see in yourself. Here's the first hidden truth. The monad light doesn't feel like spiritual vibes. It feels like stillness. It feels like a quiet authority that doesn't need to dominate. It feels like a presence that can't be rushed. When you're in that state, animals often settle. They pause. They stop running the usual script. Their staring becomes long and unguarded because they are not tracking you as a threat. They are tracking you as a signal. Have you noticed how animals often stare the hardest when you're emotionally quiet? Not when you're loud, not when you're performing, but when you're in that strange calm that comes after you've been through something and you stopped pretending. That calm is not emptiness, it's coherence. It's the nervous system returning to truth. And coherence is rare in a world addicted to reaction. Animals notice rare things. Here's the second hidden truth. Animals also stare when they sense an internal war inside you. Because chosen ones often carry two signals at once. One signal is the spark. The other signal is the inner tyrant, the counterfeit voice, the anxious loop, the fear program that the archonic system uses to keep you small. When both signals are active, your field becomes paradoxical, bright but turbulent, calm but guarded, loving but defensive. Animals feel paradoxes instantly. Humans can hide paradoxes with words. Animals can't be fooled by language, so sometimes the stare isn't admiration, it's an assessment. It's an animal trying to decide, are you safe? Are you coherent? Are you present? Or are you broadcasting tension behind a calm face? This is why some animals stare and then slowly walk away. Not because they rejected you, but because they felt the conflict you're trying to deny. Now, here is where we bring Jesus into it. In the competitor style you're building, Jesus didn't teach people to become good at religion. He taught people to become internally aligned, and alignment is a frequency. It's the state where your inner and outer are one, where you are not broadcasting one thing with your words and another thing with your body. That inner alignment is what the Gnostics would call the spark awake. And in the presence of that alignment, systems built on fear start malfunctioning. The archons can't anchor easily in coherence. They thrive in contradiction, guilt, and reactivity. So why would animals recognize that light? Because animals live closer to the original design. They aren't constantly splitting themselves into masks. They aren't narrating their worth. They are what they are. That's why they sense what is. And if your spark is waking, an animal can pick up that you're closer to the truth than most humans at that moment. Think about it like this. In a forest, a deer doesn't analyze whether a predator believes it's dangerous. It reads the field. It reads intention. It reads micro-movement. It reads coherence. Your nervous system is constantly transmitting micro-signals. Humans override them with social scripts. Animals don't. So when your field shifts, especially when it becomes quieter and stronger, animals notice. Now we need to talk about something the audience always feels, but rarely says. Chosen ones often attract animals when they are alone. Not when they're with a crowd, not when they're socially on, but when they're unmasked. Because crowds amplify the social field, noise, performance, roles. Solitude reveals the raw field. And animals respond to raw fields. This is why a stray cat might approach you when you're sitting outside at night thinking about your life. This is why a bird might land near you when you've stopped chasing attention. This is why a dog might follow you when your heart is heavy but honest. This isn't magic. It's the nervous system's truth. The monad light is not flashy, it is honest. But the story gets deeper because not all staring is positive. Sometimes animals stare because they are reacting to something attached to you. If you've been living under heavy fear, obsessive looping, chronic shame, or constant emotional depletion, your field can become a feeding ground. In Gnostic language, that's the archonic presence, patterns that feed on reaction. Animals can sense energetic wrongness. They may stare at you the way they stare at a doorway they refuse to enter, the way they stare at a corner where something feels off, not because they see a monster with eyes, because they sense distortion. And that's why your title works. Because the Chosen One's light is a beacon, but the Chosen One's path is also a battleground. The brighter the spark, the more the system tries to hook it with fear. Because fear dims the light. Fear makes the person external again. Fear makes them pray like a beggar instead of standing like a sovereign. Fear makes them look away from the one place the archons can't enter, the silent witness. So if animals stare at you, consider both possibilities. Either they recognize your coherence, or they are detecting your conflict. Either way, it's information, and the moment you stop dismissing it, you can use it. Here is the why 99% won't get this piece, which keeps retention high. Most humans are too mentally trained to accept that frequency is primary. They demand proof in words. But animals are proof that words are secondary. An animal will react to your true state, even when you are lying to yourself. That's why people who are deeply fake often hate animals or feel uneasy around them, because animals don't participate in performance. They expose it without speaking. Now, let's connect this to Mary Magdalene, Sophia, the cave, the egg, because your channel has built a mythic grammar. In every one of these themes, the core lesson is the same. The gate is within, and the key is coherence. The egg hatches from inside, not from outside. The cave initiates you by stripping away noise. Sophia awakens you by making you see through imitation. Magdalene embodies witness by refusing the externalized narrative. And animals. Animals are living detectors of coherence, living mirrors of whether you're incubating truth or feeding the shell. So what do you do with this in practical terms? You need a protocol that feels simple, ancient, and powerful, without becoming repetitive or cheesy. Here it is. Tonight, do not ask for signs. Do not chase synchronicities. Do not try to manifest animal encounters. That's the ego turning the sacred into a game. Instead, do the one thing the archons cannot stand, become still enough to be real. Sit for 2 minutes in silence, not meditation as a performance, silence as honesty. Let your thoughts talk, let the inner tyrants speak, let the fears show up. Don't fight them. Watch them. The watching is the light. When you watch, you separate from the program. And when you separate, the field shifts. Then say one sentence. Once, slowly, I return to what is true in me. Don't repeat it. Repetition becomes a chant the mind can hide behind. Say it once and then feel. The moment you feel the nervous system soften, you've activated coherence. Now, the next time an animal stares at you, don't interpret it immediately. Don't make it a superstition. Don't make it a badge. Just do this. Soften your eyes, relax your jaw, slow your breathing. Animals read breath and tension faster than anything. If the animal stays, your field is coherent. If the animal backs away, check what's tight inside you. That is your feedback loop. This is how chosen ones use the world, as a mirror rather than a theater. And here's a second practice that makes the script feel forbidden without making claims you can't support. Before you sleep, place your palm on your chest and say, "No false voice speaks through me tonight." Then stop. That sentence isn't magic, it's a boundary. It teaches your subconscious to stop consenting to intrusive loops. And when you stop consenting, your field becomes clearer. Clearer field means stronger monad signal. Stronger signals means animals react more distinctly. Now, let's talk about the archons in a way that stays consistent with your niche. The archons cannot create the monad light. They can only create static around it. They amplify fear, urgency, outrage, shame, anything that makes you identify with the small self. That's why the modern world is built like a factory of emotional triggers. It's not just capitalism or politics, it's a frequency economy. The more reactive you are, the more predictable you are. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to steer. Animals don't buy into that economy. They aren't scrolling. They aren't comparing. They aren't outraged about strangers. Their nervous system is tuned to now. That's why their stare feels like a portal. It's the present moment staring back at you. And the present moment is where the monad lives. Not in the past, not in the future, not in the story. Now. So the message of this video becomes personal. If animals stare at you, don't inflate your ego. Don't panic, don't dismiss it. Use it as a reminder. The world is telling you that your field is loud enough to be noticed, either because your light is rising or because your conflict is visible. Either way, you're being invited into coherence. And now we return to the title's claim. Jesus explained why animals stare at chosen ones. In the language of this channel, Jesus gave them a frequency. He taught inner alignment. He taught that the kingdom is within. He taught that the eye is a lamp. meaning what you attend to becomes your world. He taught that you can't serve two masters, meaning you can't be aligned to the monad while obeying fear. Animals are like living parables of that teaching. They cannot be bribed by ideology. They cannot be convinced by status. They respond to the only thing that matters, what you are radiating. So, if you're one of the people who keeps noticing animals locking onto you, here is what I want you to understand, and this is the line that should stay in the viewer's mind after the video ends. An animal's stare is not random attention. It is a test of coherence. The animal is asking, without words, are you present or are you possessed by your noise? And when you answer with presence, something strange happens. The world becomes quieter. Your mind becomes less tyrannical. Synchronicities become less chaotic and more precise. And you start realizing that the chosen one path isn't about being admired. It's about being clear. Because a clear soul becomes unharvestable. If this message resonates, don't try to prove it to anyone. Just test it. This week, whenever an animal stares at you, do not rush away. Do not reach for your phone. Do not turn it into content. Breathe, soften, become still. Let your monad light do the talking. If the animal relaxes, you'll know. Not because someone told you, but because reality responded. And if you've been feeling watched by animals in a way that unsettles you, consider this. The stare might be showing you where your field is leaking. Not to shame you, but to wake you, because the purpose of light is not to decorate your life. The purpose of light is to reveal. So tonight, before sleep, whisper one clean sentence. I choose coherence over reaction. Let the silence hold you. That silence is the monad's signature. It's what the archons can't imitate. And it's what animals have been sensing all along. Stay awake, stay sovereign. And the next time an animal stares, don't ask, what's wrong with it? Ask the only question that matters. What did it just see in me that I forgot was there?